The forsaken den reeked of decay and abandonment. Kalen stood at the entrance, his thermal scanner painting ghosts of heat signatures deep within the cave system. 17 small forms huddled together in the darkness, their body temperatures dropping to dangerous levels. The Krivoth pack had abandoned their young, a cultural practice he'd read about but never witnessed. Weak cubs, deemed unfit for the hunt, were left to die so the strong could thrive. Barbaric, Kalen muttered, shouldering his pack and stepping into the shadows. The galactic community had warned him about interfering with Krivoth traditions. They were apex predators, standing nearly 3 meters tall with obsidian scales and retractable claws that could shred titanium. Their culture valued strength above all else, and humans, soft, emotional humans, were advised to keep their distance. But Kalen hadn't survived 12 years on frontier worlds by following advice that conflicted with his conscience. The cubs scattered when his headlamp found them, pressing themselves against the far wall with terrified snarls. They were pitiful creatures, barely the size of large dogs, their scales dull and patchy from malnutrition. One stepped forward, positioning himself between Kalen and the others. The cub's golden eyes burned with defiance despite the trembling in his small frame. "You've got spirit," Kalen said softly, kneeling to appear less threatening. "What's your name, little one?" The cub hissed, showing needle-sharp teeth. Kalen noticed the scars on the young Krivoth's face, marks from the pack's rejection. According to his translator's database, the cub wore the shame marks of the Forsaken. "Vash," the cub finally growled, his voice barely developed. "You human. Why here?" "Because you deserve better than dying in the dark." Kalen slowly opened his pack, removing packets of protein gel. The cub's eyes tracked the movement with desperate hunger. "I'm not going to hurt you. I'm going to help you survive." Vash's suspicion warred with starvation. Finally, he snatched the offered packet, tearing it open with clumsy claws. The other cubs surged forward, and Kalen distributed food with practiced efficiency. As they ate, he assessed their condition. Malnourished, yes, but young enough to recover. Young enough to learn. "Your pack abandoned you because you're weak," Kalen said bluntly as Vash finished his meal. The cub's eyes narrowed with rage, but Kalen continued. "They're wrong. You're not weak, you're untrained. There's a difference. Krivoth are born strong," Vash spat. "We who cannot hunt alone, not worthy. Your people hunt alone because that's what they know. But strength comes in many forms." Kalen stood, extending his hand. "Come with me. All of you. I'll show you a different kind of power." The cubs followed him into the dying light of the binary sunset. Vash walked beside Kalen, suspicious but curious. The human had established a camp 3 kilometers from the den, a temporary shelter with training equipment that looked absurdly primitive to anyone familiar with galactic technology. Vash examined the obstacle course with disdain. Ropes and wooden poles. The best warriors in human history trained with less. Kalen activated a holographic display, showing images of Earth's ancient martial traditions. "Your people value individual strength. Humans learn something different. We learn to fight together." Over the following weeks, Kalen implemented a training regimen that shocked the cubs' understanding of combat. Instead of pitting them against each other to establish dominance, he taught them to move as a unit. Vash, initially resistant, proved to be a natural leader. The cub's defiance transformed into determination as he began to understand Kalen's methods. Again, Kalen shouted as the cubs attempted a coordinated flanking maneuver. They were clumsy, their predatory instincts fighting against cooperative tactics. "Vash, you're leaving your left flank exposed. Trust your packmates to cover your weakness." "Krivoth have no weakness," Vash snarled, but adjusted his position. "Everyone has weaknesses. The trick is making sure your strengths complement each other." Kalen demonstrated, moving through the cubs like water, showing how their smaller size could be an advantage against larger opponents if they worked together. The cubs began to change. Their scales brightened as proper nutrition restored their health. But more importantly, something shifted in their eyes. They stopped seeing each other as competition and started recognizing their collective potential. Vash grew particularly close to a smaller female cub named Rin, who compensated for her limited strength with remarkable tactical awareness. "She sees patterns," Vash told Kalen one evening. "Things I miss. Together, we are more. Now you're understanding." Kalen felt a surge of pride watching them train. The Forsaken Cubs were becoming something their pack had never imagined. A coordinated fighting force. The test came sooner than expected. A raid warning blared across Kalen's communication array. Scarix pirates, notorious slavers who preyed on isolated settlements. Their ship had entered the system, likely seeking easy targets among the scattered frontier colonies. "We need to evacuate," Kalen told the Cubs. But Vash stepped forward, his golden eyes hardened with purpose. "No, we fight. Your children. We are warriors," Vash interrupted. "You made us warriors. Now let us prove it." Kalen saw the determination in their faces, all 17 Cubs standing ready. They'd been abandoned because they were weak. They'd been saved by a human who saw potential. Now they demanded the chance to validate that faith. "If we do this, we do it smart." Kalen pulled up tactical displays. The Scarix rely on intimidation and superior firepower. They won't expect organized resistance from a training camp. The Cubs listened as Kalen outlined a defensive strategy that played to their newfound strengths. Vash absorbed every detail, his mind translating human tactics into applications for Kryvoth physiology. When the pirates landed, they found what appeared to be an easy target: a lone human and a pack of juvenile Kryvoth. The Scarix captain laughed when he saw them. A human playing nursemaid? This will be entertaining. What followed wasn't entertainment. It was a masterclass in asymmetric warfare. The Cubs moved like shadows, using the terrain Kalen had taught them to exploit. They didn't fight like traditional Kryvoth, trading strength for strength. They fought like a precision instrument, each Cub playing their role perfectly. Vash led the primary assault team, his natural aggression now channeled through tactical discipline. Rin coordinated the flanking groups, her strategic mind turning the pirates' superior numbers into a disadvantage in the confined spaces. The smaller Cubs used their size to access positions larger fighters couldn't reach, turning Kalen's defensive installations into deadly surprises. The battle lasted 17 minutes. When it ended, the Scarix survivors fled to their ship, pursued by Cubs who had transformed from forsaken weaklings into something terrifying. Organized predators working with unified purpose. Kalen watched Vash stand among his packmates, blood on his scales but pride in his eyes. The Cub, no, the young warrior, looked at the human who had given them a second chance. "We were forsaken," Vash said quietly. "You could have left us to die. Why didn't you?" Kalen smiled, exhausted but satisfied. "Because humans learned long ago that true strength isn't about how you fight alone. It's about who you choose to stand with. Your pack abandoned you because they only saw weakness. I saw potential. And now," Rin asked, stepping forward, "now the galaxy will see what I always did, that the measure of a warrior isn't their individual power. It's their ability to make those around them stronger." Kalen placed a hand on Vash's shoulder. "You were never weak. You were just waiting for someone to show you a different way to be strong." The Cubs stood together as the binary suns set, casting long shadows across the training ground. They had been forsaken by their own kind, saved by a human, and transformed into something unprecedented. Kryvoth warriors who understood that true strength came not from standing alone, but from standing together. And in that moment, Vash understood what made humans so dangerous across the galaxy. It wasn't their technology or their physical capabilities. It was their irrational, beautiful belief that anyone could be saved, that everyone deserved a chance, and that compassion was not weakness. It was the foundation of the strongest bonds imaginable. The Forsaken Cubs had become warriors, and they would never forget the human who believed in them when their own people had not.